Go ahead.
Thank you. Um, it's good to see you, and
Good to see you. It's been a while.
thank you for taking the time on a Sunday. Happy holidays.
Thanks.
Uh, First and foremost, your thoughts on this regime change, if you will.
It's a momentous day that most Syrians never thought that they would see. The vast majority of Syrians everywhere, scattered all around the world, but especially in Syria, are pinching themselves with disbelief that over the course of less than 2 weeks, this more than half a century-year-old rule of tyranny has been overthrown.
What does this mean for the world? I know it's a large, open-ended question, but what do you feel like this represents now?
Well, it's hard to overstate the consequences. Again, first and foremost, for the people of Syria, who have demonstrated unbelievable resilience over the course of this repressive regime's life. There are geopolitical consequences as well of great importance. You can think of it kind of like a huge seismic shift in what appeared to be a frozen conflict. So it exacerbates the difficulties that are being undergone by the Russians, the Iranians, um, and non-state actors like Hezbollah, taking out a major chunk of that particular polar axis of geopolitics. And it also has implications for uh, local opportunists as well. You will see that the Netanyahu government, still conducting its ruthless genocide in Palestine, has seen fit within a couple of hours of the fall of the Assad regime to make significant incursions into occupied Syrian territory in the Golan Heights and is already bombing sites inside of Syria. Uh, there's also an opportunity for Turkey to foment issues after having supported this incursion and providing a certain amount of support for the Syrian rebels. It also controls other rebel groups in the east, which we are looking at with concern as they begin to clash with the Kurdish positions on the ground. And for the United States, currently in its own state of frozen foreign policy in the waning days of the Biden administration. This is going to offer challenges and opportunities that we have yet to fully understand how the Trump administration will implement.
That leads me to my next question. With Trump coming in once again in now a little over a month, how does the landscape look for a Trump administration as it deals with that changing part of the Middle East? How do you see that?
Well, in his tweet from yesterday or social media contribution from yesterday, the president-elect displayed a what many Syrians are taking as an admirable position of urging restraint and refraining from overt and direct manipulation of the Syrian situation. That, to many experts and observers and residents of the region, is a step in the right direction to not follow through policies of past Republican and Democratic administrations to insert the United States as a power player in this struggle, but in fact to let the principles on the ground, in this case, the Syrian incoming new government, to lead and to handle this situation on their own. So I am cautiously optimistic. This is something you hear me say a lot. Today is a day of celebration for anyone who understands what the Syrian people have gone through. Sure, there are going to be challenges, aftershocks, and opportunities for malicious players at all levels to involve themselves in the Syrian situation. But let's just put it this way, it's not a power vacuum. The Syrian people have risen up. They were not driven to this by great power politics. This came as a surprise to just about everyone on the global scene. This is the Syrian people standing up, and they will face challenges. But for now, it's a great day in Syria.
Leila, did you ever, as someone who studies the region so closely, did you ever imagine that you'd see this day?
No, no, I did not. Nobody thought we would see this day in our lifetimes. We had grown um, resigned to the idea that politics were frozen in a position that could not be dislodged. Certainly not in less than 2 weeks. So my Syrian husband wakes up every morning and asks me to pinch him to make sure that he is not dreaming. This has been um, a one of those weeks in which a decade's worth of developments happen.
Two last things and then a potential follow. Um, the rebel forces who overthrew him or ousted him, what are their politics like? Do you know? I mean, are they more, did they more favor a democratic type government? What happens
Well,
now?
this would require a 2 hour discussion to get into the nuances of this, but suffice it to say,
I wish I had the time.
I know, I know. I wish you had the time too, and I wish the university had the time to do the public education that is necessary.
Yeah.
So suffice it to say that the de facto military leader on the ground, known up until now by his nom de guerre, Abu Muhammad al-Jawlani, came through Islamist extremist organizations, but critically broke with the Al Qaeda affiliate that he led in 2016 in order to focus more explicitly not on an abstract and universalizing form of Islamic extremism, but to dedicate the energy that came from that impulse to uh, the Syrian situation specifically. And what looks like has happened in much more recent time since then is that he has become something of and I'm using scare quotes here, a progressive reformist within those Islamist circles. One of the most striking things about the rhetoric and the imagery that we have seen over the last 2 weeks is the persistent, consistent, insistent calls for pluralism, for respect of the many minority populations within Syria, including the Christians, the Druze, the Kurds, and even the Alawite sect that has been historically associated with the ousted president. So this new movement is working extremely hard to incorporate local, minority, pluralistic discourse and governance in its plans for the future of Syria. So we watch again with cautious optimism to see whether the strength of that message is going to prevail over all the potential traps, forces, and potential chaos at play.
The AP reports that Assad has now flee to Russia, according to Russian state TV. Are you surprised by that?
No, not at all. And in fact, it's a rich irony that uh, today, after having displaced half of Syria's population, more than 10 million refugees and displaced people were produced under his rule over the last 14 years. Today, he and his family are seeking refuge in Russia. And what you will see now is going to be very interesting. The Syrian people who have been scattered and displaced are already packing up and making plans to return back to Syria, everywhere from Tucson to Germany to Turkey to the near Arab countries. There are traffic jams already on the roads. People are already checking to see when they can return to their homes in Syria.
I want to finish with this, which is how do you think this week will be remembered in the world?
This is a week where that will not soon be forgotten. If in fact and we hope that this is true, if in fact the discipline and the intentionality and the pluralism that is bubbling forth in Syria right now is able to hold, it needs to hold off futures like that which happened in Libya and Iraq, that is, futures of chaos and corruption. And if we are able to avoid those outcomes, this is going to go down as a momentous week in regional but also global history.
Leila Hudson, University of Arizona professor, Mideast Studies, associate professor. Thank you so very much for your time.
Thank you.
Give me 1 second. I'm going to just pause for just a moment.
Mhm.